you think Matt knows he's got a pen stuck to his face?
Hey, what?
Matt Beard. Hey,
Hi, Matt Beard.
Matt
won't talk. He's too busy on.
You. I miss your musk.
We don't let him talk. There's a reason for that.
Right, we've started recording. You're live on Channel 4. Please don't swear. Welcome to this evening's Power Platform virtual happy hour, the all new Between Two Ferns format, where we invite some guests and enrage them, and then they have to put a pound in the jar every time they swear. So we're looking forward to Mark Christie potentially having an aneurysm as he's torn between digging into his Scottish pocket and saying something really offensive. So I think we're all secretly looking forward to that. Do we have a code of conduct? Seems ironic.
Not anymore. I mean, after Mark Smith, I think the code of conduct's a bit fucked out the window right now. So yeah,
I don't believe that he was racist or sexist or anything like that. So I think we're okay.
As far as being sweary goes, we have no code of conduct.
We don't. We should have 07 be try not to be sweary. Or someone don't really can. That's Carlos, go on, get in. You can all swear, Lucy and everybody else. The lot of you swear as much as you like, but the guests have to donate £10 to charity for every time they say a naughty word. And if they manage to get through the whole thing without saying a naughty word, then
no, just Mark.
Just Mark. Okay.
And also, that depends what you regard as being a naughty word, because a lot of these words are standard vocabulary for us.
I'm going to be honest, Ian. I think you know what the naughty words are. You're not going to trick me into saying even the slightest rude or naughty word with your Machiavellian questioning technique.
but can we say this? Can we say this is an official warning that there may be a naughty word again? Put on headphones and hide your toddlers.
Right. So if you've got children that can hear this, it is quite possible that a naughty word will get said. So don't have it on loudspeaker where everyone can hear. Basically, you've been warned, and you're in the car with us, and you've seen the weapons, and we've told you that we're going to knock over a liquor store. So if you stay here, it's on you.
You're all consenting adults.
You're all consenting adults. That said, we do have a code of conduct that is it's fine to be a little bit off the wall and maybe a bit sweary, but not at the expense of other people. Please be aware of the thoughts, feelings and perspectives of other people. Please be friendly and patient, welcoming and respectful, and be open to all questions and viewpoints. It's fine to be to ask questions and to challenge things, but do it in a respectful way and be understanding of differences. It's just really about humans being humans to other humans, I think is the best way I can describe it. So without further ado, I think it's time to ask you to mute and crack all your cans of beer open, or rattle the ice in your gin and tonic as we warm up. I'm just going to do a brief introduction. Well, I'm just going to call out your names, and if you'd like to give us a brief introduction about who you are and what event you do for anybody that may not know. So I will start with Iain Connolly, please.
Hello, so Iain Connolly. I am here representing Scottish Summit. I don't know why I said that in such a high-pitched sort of way, but yeah, as on brand with a few people here, so thank you very much for that. But the Scottish Summit has just had its second year, third year if you want to include the first one that we ran under a different name, but second year we went virtual, and we're now in the stages of planning our third or our next event, which will be hopefully back in person.
Hooray! And Mark Christie.
What Ian said, but Mark.
What Ian said, but with a Mark Christie at the beginning. Okay.
If you want to even go that far, yes.
Well, I do want to go that far, Mark.
The Mark Christie, remember.
The Mark Christie. And the lovely Aaron Rendell, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, afternoon, everyone. So yeah, Aaron, down on the South Coast, work for a Microsoft partner down here, and yeah, looking to follow in the big footsteps that Mark and Ian have have set in the Scottish region of a South Coast Summit in October.
Very cool. You can say who you work for on here. It's fine. Iain and Mark are working for. Well, actually, I'll let you tell them. Aaron works for Transparency, and he's hiring if you're interested. So yeah,
We're always hiring.
He's looking for pre-sales people. So dust off your CV. Let him know. So I've got some questions prepared, and I wanted to kick off, and I think probably I'll ask Iain and Mark first, because their experience with doing this is mature, and then I'll go. Then Aaron, if you want to chime in with how your experience matches up. Is this the first event you've put on, Aaron, South Coast Summit? Is it the first one you've done, or have you done others before?
No, so it's the first event, and I guess we're only sort of halfway through the planning. We've still got 6-7 months until the main event, so
still got a lot of joy to go then.
I remember speaking to Mark, what was it, back in September time, was it? And we had a quick half-hour, 45-minute, and yeah, everything you said, Mark, is true. Double budget.
Yeah.
Sponsors are best friend and worst enemy.
Lols.
But to be fair, I'm glad that this will hopefully be in person, because remote online sounds quite easy, but I think being part of the Scottish Summit was a bit of an eye-opener as to actually how much work has to happen behind the scenes for what seems to be a fairly straightforward log in, click on the link, watch a video. It's not as straightforward.
I think it's straightforward from the user experience, but yeah, not from
looking at Matt Beard, he's still dead behind the eyes from helping.
So I was going to ask, so Mark and Iain, like, what would you say is the best thing about putting on a community event?
The day after it's all finished.
Yeah, that's definitely one. It's not even the day after. It's
the week
like a couple of days. But actually, in reality, I think for me, there's two things I love about the in-person event, or putting on an event. It's knowing that somebody's learning something. As we've always said, if one person takes away one thing from a session, then the event's been worth it, right? We put on all of this stuff because our first ethos around it was very much, who do we want to speak? Who do we want to hear from? Who do we want to learn from? So that's where we got our first sort of pool of speakers, selfishly. And we were like, well, let's just do it. And it's grown from that. So we know that it's people that we're interested in. So therefore, other people have been interested in that as well, selfishly. But we opened up, obviously, with this larger one and went across the whole Microsoft stack, which is a little bit different because a lot of that's out of our comfort zone, which was a big thing for us on this one as well, to go out of our comfort zone.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah.
I think I'll elaborate on that a little bit more as well. It definitely is getting people together, getting to learn new things. One of the big things about it is community, though, is actually getting to see it. I mean, let's be honest, Scottish Summit's just a big party with that additional bit of learning, if you know the right people.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the good things, is getting the community together, getting to know new people, new skill sets, introducing them, because the more people you've got in the community, the more cool things happen, the more the products go on. There's loads of things like that really do it. But yeah, learning's good, community's good. Yeah.
Like the thing is, like, you're right in what you say, like particularly Scottish Summit last year. I didn't go to the year before, but last year was like just a massive social afterwards. But you guys didn't really get involved in that.
No, and it's hard, I think. Like, I think for me, the reason why I don't get involved in it, there's an element of you spent so long planning everything for it, and on the day, as Aaron will find out, you're like a duck in the way where everything above the water looks very calm, but underneath your legs are flapping. You're emotionally and physically drained by the end of the day. So if you went to one of these socials, you go round and obviously you go to as many as you can, you say hi because you're grateful for everybody coming. But at the same time, you've been up since 6 o'clock that morning. You've been awake the night before because you've had the pre-dinner or the dinner for the speakers and all that kind of stuff. And you've had all these other socials. And we put it on for the community, as Mark said, but it's more for the community. It's not for us. So I think there's that, like, that element of where you do matter it a little bit, where you don't go to the socials because you want people to have a laugh, you want people to enjoy it, and you don't want. I suppose this is me personally as well. I don't like being centre of attention all the time, so I don't want to go to these things and the people come up going, "Oh, it was great, it was great." I'm like, I know it was good, and like,
I know that. I know I did an awesome job.
yeah, because the event ran right. Once you open the doors, I've related this to being like a steam train all the way along it. Like, we're planning it, we know the steam, we've fueled up the train, we've got the passengers on the train, we've got the haulage, it's there, but you can't do anything else at that point.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little interesting that from that point as to why we did go.
We did go to things because we had to do the whole. I mean, if you remember, we had 12 different sponsors. We had to go around, shake hands, kiss babies' heads, and everything. So we literally went to 4 or 5 different after parties, slapped the wife, tickled the vicar, all that sort of stuff. Said thanks and please and everything. And even alone, just going to them, even spending half an hour each one of them, you're half an hour, you're on at the next place, you're half an hour, you're on at the next place. There's just so many different things that you have to do. So we went everywhere. We were at Incremental Pub Quiz, we went to Red Spire, we went up to Servant as well. Yeah. There was just so many different things that we've done. We were kind of just jumping back and forth between everything. So the perception maybe would be that we didn't do the social stuff, but we did actually do.
We were at the Crin thing, and then we just started getting a little bit mental.
Yeah, it definitely got mental.
I was chatting to someone the other day, and I described it as like organising a wedding. So you do all the planning, you've got the venue, you've got the guests, but it's on a scale 10 times of a wedding. And I imagine when you're there, a bit like my wedding, is you're too busy talking to all the guests and walking around, making sure everyone's having fun, enjoying themselves, they're in the right place, that actually you don't experience it as an attendee.
No.
And you'll probably find as well, you'll not even get to say hello to any people because you'll be dealing with sponsors all day.
Yeah.
That's just what I was going to say. The thing with the wedding in there is the one person that you've got to please is your other half.
The sponsors.
Everybody else, it doesn't really matter. They're your guests. On an event, these sponsors are all your other half. They're the reason why that event exists. And I suppose in some extent, I believe your event's slightly different. Ours is very community orientated, and I believe yours is a bit more corporate business orientated. So it's just that slightly different, but you've got more sponsors because of that. You've got more more people to please. I don't know where I was going with that. Like being the sponsor and stuff, you've got a lot more kissing the vicar, as Mark was saying earlier, and I was obviously going to say something else and almost cost me a tenner.
I think we're going for a 50-50. We're going for like a Future Decoded / a community Scottish Summit. I think, we've got quite a few sponsors to keep happy, and therefore we need to attract the right attendees. And likewise, we also want it to be a community event where the community get involved. They're attending the sessions to learn. But we've got that split between session tracks and sessions that are CTO, CIO focused rather than, IT pros, developers, the community folk that want to learn best practice.
And you'll learn from that, Aaron. That's the thing. You're starting up and you'll learn what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's where Iain and that have gone to the degree. They're in their 3rd year and have learned what works best for them. I think it's going to be different depending on location and community, and even the main guys. If you two guys are very community focused, you're going to put on that sort of event. And
I think you're totally right there, Carol. We have that catalyst behind us now, so that's what the Scottish Summit's known for.
Yeah.
So that's the engine, and we the same as Aaron. We have a lot of sponsors and different packages and stuff to offer out, and we still bring in a lot of sponsors, but we have a reputation that they know what they're signing up for at that point. So I suppose it's maybe a easier sell to get a sponsor on board because it's a community event. Different strokes.
Yeah, you've
got that history behind you as well. It's easy for a sponsor to say, last year we ran it, we had X number of attendees and we had this split. The year before we had this number of attendees, and every year it's doubled or tripled. My challenge that's been since October through to now, in fact, is speaking to sponsors that we've never engaged with before. We're in lockdown, we're arranging an event and the venue staff are on furlough. you've got none of that history. Say, well, yeah, we ran it last year. We had these number of attendees. You know, we had X amount of sponsors come back because they thought it was a great event and they had leads, etc. We've got none of that. So we're, you know, greenfield.
So that's the one that I would say to be very careful on. A lot of businesses are, how many leads are we going to get out of this? You're not going to get leads out the back of this. If you're going to get a lead, it's going to be 1 or 2 leads. This is all, these sort of events are around brand awareness, recruitment, flogging your ISV solutions or getting your name out there. You're not going to sell, you're not going to get a lot of leads.
Yeah.
That's the honest part of that, I think. And we've had sponsors come back from our first year. We didn't get any leads. We thought we'd get X amount of leads. But no, we did get 45,000 website hits that day. Well, I mean, what do you want? So yeah, I would
how are they doing the conversion? That's what, like, we found that as well. Like, obviously the marketing list element and stuff like that. It's, well, how did you market to them? How did you approach them? Oh, we sent one email. Well,
yeah,
that's not marketing. It's not going to work.
Yeah, there's a company who will stay nameless. Who we basically said, here's the marketing list of everyone who was at the event. You have third-party marketing rights to them. Here you go. You can market to them. They then decided not to send emails out to anyone. I think that got lost, and then maybe never sponsored the following year because they didn't get any leads out the back of it. So you can lead the horse to water. I don't know what you can do from there, though.
Yeah, like, it's an excellent point. Like we're saying, many things you get out of it, what you put in, right? If their expectation is that you guys are going to go out and sell their company to people for them, then, you know,
this isn't the barrows. We're not selling DVDs out the back of Hookie Market stall.
Although we could do that. Just saying.
And none of those were swear words, just in case you were wondering. Paddy will verify.
So the next question is, what's the worst thing about putting on a community event?
Sponsors. No, sponsors.
Awesome.
No, well, I don't know. I'm allowed to have a little bit of a rant.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the people on here have kind of been behind the curtain, so they'll know this sort of thing. But we made a big thing about volunteers, like, great, all these different volunteers. Where a lot of people volunteer, and then we understand people have to pull out, people have to do this, that, and the other, but we had volunteers just vanish. Like, boom, they were actually gone. Like, couldn't find them whatsoever. That was one of the things, and we were pairing people up just because we didn't know if somebody was going to turn up or not on the day. And like, volunteers giving their time is absolutely brilliant. I cannot thank people enough for doing that. But we pretty much said on every call that we had, look, we know circumstances change. We will not hold anything against you. Just hold your hand up and say, look, sorry, I'm struggling. I'm not going to be able to do it. And that's all it would have taken. So for us, that was one thing that kind of was quite difficult. But to answer your question, sponsors are sponsors for me. We can't have the event without them, but they're a lot of work. I mean, I'm still doing stuff for sponsors, and we're 3 weeks after the event now.
Yeah. What about you, Iain? Do you have a different perspective?
What was your question again?
What's the worst thing?
Do you know, I think for me the worst thing has to be, as we do this for community, it's not something that we get paid for. There's absolutely no money. It's not for profit in any way whatsoever. So you have to balance your time between that, life, and work. So you're not just got a work-life balance, you've got a work-life community event balance. And as I said at the top of the call, we're already now planning our next event for next year. So it's already kind of kicked in a little bit there. Not as manic as it was for the last sort of 6 months beforehand. But I think that's the hardest part for me, is finding that work-life balance. And it kind of kicks back a little bit to what Mark just said about the volunteers element. We're control freaks. Self-obsessed, like, totally, I will say it. I thought Mark was bad until I realised I'm trying to get other people to do stuff. And then I was like, oh my God, I can't let people do it. And I found myself sitting here, even the whole day of the event, I was sitting at my computer, double checking, triple checking stuff that people's done. And it's not because somebody had done anything wrong. It's just that part of me having to adapt and change and not be that control freak element. So that balance at times is probably the hardest part for me.
Yeah. What's been the worst thing for you so far, Aaron?
I don't know if I'm far enough down the road to be able to give
love
it
everything.
an answer yet, because it is full on. You know, my lunch hours and an hour every evening, and maybe Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings when the kids are still asleep and I'm up. You know, it does take a lot of time because, you know, as Iain said, you know, I go through the emails and the wording that we're sending out, and you double check it, you triple check it. You know, you don't want to make some sort of obvious grammatic error and send it out to 35 sponsors and you look like a dick.
Like not calling out GMT in your sessions in the email that I sent out, because I did do it in the first draft and then didn't in the next when I updated the flow. For some reason I didn't take it. And the amount of questions you had, what's the time zone? And I'm like, it's GMT, it's Scottish Summit, it's Scottish Summit. Like,
and that's the other bit as well. For everyone on the outside, it looks like, oh, that event was great, that was brilliant, fantastic, amazing. But me and Iain will be raging. Like, I was raging for days over a tiny little thing that went wrong on the day that nobody probably even noticed. But I was up for chipping somebody. I was at that point. It was ready to go. But that does, because it doesn't. It depends how you get wired, I suppose. But just little things like that kind of annoy me as well.
I'm going to take a question from the side panel there, Alison. Right? Nigel's comment.
Nigel said the hard part is getting sufficient sponsors, and the most difficult thing is choosing speakers in their sessions. There are too few of the former and too many of the latter. It's good input.
100%, right? So for us, you're definitely right. The getting sufficient sponsors is hard. You set up, as Aaron's going through just now, you've got your sponsor packages and you've got this price XYZ because you know the cost, you know this, you know everything outlay, and you know what's going to happen, you know what the turnover money is. And then someone comes back and says, oh, we don't want to do it for X, but we'll give you Y. And you're like, it's not really bartering, but we know we kind of need a sponsor for this. So if we take you and then take somebody else here, so you start doing all this random customization of a sponsorship package and being a bit more ingenious about how you get your sponsorship when you go to the venue and you see different things. You're like, cool, we can do this, we can sponsor there, we can have this, we can do that. And we were continually adapting to get that sponsorship part of it.
Don't be surprised if you have sponsored toilet roll next year if we're struggling for money. You think I'm joking?
No, I don't think anyone would think you were joking. You and Swag are synonymous with each other.
Well, see, if we'd done toilet roll, it would become one of these things that people would want. I mean, imagine if you shoot a toilet roll with a Scottish Summit logo in the middle of it. Actually, Mark, let's part this and we'll come back to that.
Yes, I'll take that one. I've got a note of that one just to say.
Right, the other one that I said here is about the speakers. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't in that one. For us, so we went through sessionized. And we've done everything very masked from the first couple of sessions. We've done a lot of rounds of masked from the volunteers going in and just looking at the session notes, looking to see if the session looked interesting, etc. There was no names, no gender. It was all anonymised. And it went round a couple of rafts of that. So it went through some tranches of that element of it. And that's how we basically got to where we were with our speakers. But doing that, we got grief from people because they didn't want it to be anonymised. And then previously, before, when it wasn't anonymised, we got grief for it being cherry-picked, from to coin a phrase. So I don't know how you win best on that situation.
I don't think there's ever going to be a right way, though, is there? It's you just make a decision that's right for you and that you're supported of. And the whole anonymous thing was great for me. I think that as a volunteer, you could probably tell who the person was if you knew them. And there's quite a few that you could, but overall, I think it was a great way of doing it.
So what we did try to do beforehand, there was a lot of people who, in their session description, I'd done this tool and this is this. So it was obvious who they were. We went in and we actually removed a lot of that.
And it was interesting to see the results as well, because there was lots of people that we would have expected their name to sail through, and they were bombed right out because their session review just was like, "Hi, I'm
5 words." Literally 5 words. There was what we've done this. what we've done, I mean, not that I've already set up Sessionize or anything yet already, of course I haven't. However, for this one, you have to have a minimum of 50 words and a maximum of 100 words in your description. I think the only way you can actually do it is anonymous, because that way you're going to get new speakers. You're not going to be picking the same. I mean, we've said it all the time, your same 10-year MVPs who talk about the same thing every session. It's a mate's day for a drink out in a pub. It's quite a common theme to a lot of these events. It's the old guard. Me and Ian are sick of them. Not sick of the people, sick of listening to the same sort of sessions. The product's evolved, the community's evolved, and we need to help these events evolve and get the new people. Which, does that mean, because we're talking about new people, can we do one of our announcements now then? Can we?
You can do if you
Of course
want
you
to.
can.
Are you sure now, Alison? Are you sure?
Does it involve me?
No?
Oh, well then do it. It's fine.
Okay. You want to do the one about the speakers, the new speakers? Or will I go for it?
So the new speakers, as we're taking what we've done with the idea around the virtual power group last year, or for last year, it was only like 3 weeks ago, right? But that session there where we had some new speakers and we got them some mentorship, etc. So we're going to take that and have the whole sort of, we thought about it before, but just didn't really get into practice about like lightning sessions and having a new speaker stage, a physical stage where they can come on, not actually built up or anything, but like a new speaker room where they'll have some lightning sessions, quick fire, not having to stick to like the whole 45 minutes, but have a quicker turnaround so it's much more relaxed, get them some mentorship as well, assign them a mentor who's going to work with them all the way through, and just try and help grow that new speaker element to it as well, and make it really comfortable, make it really approachable, do what we can.
Yeah.
So think of it like a pub, an introducing stage for a new
Comedy,
band or a
sing
Like
comedy.
an open mic.
Like an open,
Kind
pretty
of
much like an open mic. Like an open mic. So
that really informal element of it. Obviously, there's the form part beforehand with his mentorship and stuff like that, but just making it really informal, drop in, drop out sessions type stuff.
Yeah.
and that's going to. So we're dedicating one room on both days. So you're going to have at least 32 sessions from new speakers at the event.
Cool.
You're going to have
Very good.
32 new speakers.
You can steal that, Aaron.
But I was going to
we've
say
not-
that because
We've
of the
not put
size
anything around our speakers, or focusing on new speakers, experienced speakers yet. I think, our call for speakers isn't until the 1st of June, so we've still got a bit of time to think about it and formalise it. But
And I think it's also to do with your size, though, Aaron, because you've got a limited number of slots.
Personal.
That compared to the Scottish Summit guys, that they've got an awful lot more capacity, I think, and I think you need to take that into consideration when you're building out these days.
yeah, I think we've got about 130 sessions in total, and we've got theatre stages in the expo hall. We've got the breakout room, so your typical 20 minutes versus 40-minute sessions. As part of the sponsorship, some of the sponsors have got allocated theatres and breakout rooms, so probably a third of them are already sort of pre-allocated, and then we've just got to manage the remaining and manage the expectation that our audience is a sort of a 50-50, well, hopefully will be a 50-50 split. So we need the right sessions to attract one half and the right sessions to attract the other half, and there'll be a bit of mingling in between, but it'll have to be managed nearer the time. There'll be comms going out, and we've got.
I think one thing that you'll have to think about as well is, because it's the first event and you don't have the brand recognition, you do need names. So there has to be an element of nobody's going to turn up if it's just a bunch of nobodies. As brutally honest as that is, if you've got a list of speakers that nobody's really heard of, then you're going to struggle to attract people. So you do need to be very, how do you say it nicely and without swearing? So yeah, be selective on who you're bringing in, because you do need the names, you do need the people, because there isn't the brand there at the moment. You need the speaker with their brand to be able to bring that to the event. Once you've done it once, I think it's okay because you've done the event, you can call on past experience, but get bums on seats, you need to have names on sheets.
And that's why we've got Chris Hunterford, I think.
Yeah, well,
Nobody listens to that.
basically, what
Fuck
nearly.
Mark.
What
There
we're
we go.
basically saying is you need to get Satya Nadella to do your keynote, and then Matt's raised.
That would be pretty amazing. I don't think that will happen though.
Well, maybe if I do an intro.
Yeah, you do your shake again, Alison.
Shake. That said, also the fact that South Coast Summit is potentially the first in-person event. It like it harkens back to the it's a piss up for you and your mates kind of thing. So, but yeah.
I think we do have that on our side. There's a lot of people down Midlands, South Coast that are keen to get out, and I think that is going to add in our favour.
Yeah, I agree there with that one. Like, it's definitely something that'll add in your favour as much as the reverse of it. Will people travel and things like that? And obviously, you'll have thought about this the way the current world is at the moment. It's, as we said, even about Scottish Summit, we weren't going to put something on when we done the last in person. When we actually said, let's not do something because we don't know what it's going to be like. We don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know what the world will look like at that point. So we chose not to do it, and then decided, like, you know what, let's just do the virtual one. And I think at the moment the virtual stuff's probably, again, one of the topics we probably want to talk about is that whole, where does it go going forward? Like, everybody's got that point where they've got a little bit of burnout and stuff at the moment,
So
and
that's
virtual
actually
is a different thing.
Yeah, that's my next question is event fatigue. I think it was Gregor Suti or someone like that. I had a Twitter exchange with the other day where, like, I think people are just done. Like, I know it's really ironic because we're on a virtual event, but I think I feel like this is a different event. When we first started doing the virtual happy hour, it was to do like a mini UG for people that couldn't get to in-person UGs, right? But like then COVID happened and everybody's doing online events, and we kind of sat down as a team and said, do you know what? I think everybody's done with the online learning sessions. There's just so much of it that like everybody's, because it's not easy to do. It's actually quite difficult to do, but you can get anyone from anywhere in the world to come and talk on a session, right? Deliver a session for you because it's virtual. But like, I think there's two factors in this that play into this, which is if people do have burnout of just doing like an online version of a UG event, then what's the alternative if we don't go back to in-person things? And I don't think a lot of people are going to go back to organising in-person things, particularly when there is cost involved in doing that. And the other thing is it brings up something I had a discussion with Ben Vollmer about, which is recording sessions. And I think a lot of people have got very diametrically opposed opinions on whether or not it's okay to record the sessions and disseminate that afterwards. Because I think also with the virtual event, people are like, well, it doesn't matter. I'll look at the recording later, right? And then I actually show for the event. And then probably they forget about watching the recording. So, what do you think? Is event fatigue a real thing? Is there an answer to that?
Yes, could I just answer one of those ones where you mentioned about recording sessions in advance?
I knew you'd waited on that one.
So one of the things that we thought was absolutely brilliant, so we've got people that have maybe got kids who cannot do things because of, Iain's going to roll his eyes here, but can't do things at weekend because of religious things. That's a favourite saying for me at the moment. But yeah, people have poor internet connections. I mean, we had somebody from Japan, was it Carol?
Yeah, he was from Japan. Yeah, they got his timing wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, we had people from Japan, people from India, and being able to record the session in advance meant they're allowed to join this global event. But people who maybe have poor internet that can't actually live stream events, now we're in a good place where we have good internet, unless you're in the middle of something nowhere like I am, but we give people the ability that might not be able to do live streaming of events the chance to pre-record their session, have their session put on there. So I think, yes, some people don't like the pre-recorded sessions, but the platform it gave people was great, I think. I'll be quiet now.
On the flip of that as well, with the recording and disseminating later,
Yeah.
People maybe don't watch it. Our YouTube stats show different.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying whether
I know.
people do watch it or not. I just, Ben Vollmer's point was that people need to show up and see the session, right? And for the session to be live, and that if you can record the session and people can access it anytime they like, then you can't use that session at another event, right? So like in many ways, is that feeding new content because you could only use a session once? Probably yes.
Well, that's kind of where one of the points that we were saying earlier when we were putting this together, when we were doing our sessions and put the idea out for the call for speakers, we had purposely asked people not to turn up with the same session. As Mark was saying, we didn't want to be here in the same session you've been doing the circuit with for a year, because everybody's seen it, especially with the increase in virtual events that exist. Everybody could be around the world every night of the week doing the same session, because it's great for the user groups or small user groups. And we've all been through a user group or helped run our user group or been involved in it. User groups, if 20 people turn up on a random Wednesday night, you're like, man, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you went online with that, you were having 20, 30 people locally turn up, plus a whole influx of people from the world, because suddenly we can have that online element. And that's awesome. It's really, really good because the community's built. We've seen it with the circle of people that we all know, like individually now. There's people that are in South America that I would never have known, that I speak to them like every other day and just saying, hey, how you doing? Hi. And you've got that friendship now because you've been able to go to these events and speak to these people and everything. And that's amazing in itself, right? And that's a good thing to come out of COVID. But on the flip of it, you can't peddle the same session all the time. So if it is recorded and put on YouTube and disseminated elsewhere and people can absorb it on demand when they want, if that's forcing people for new content, then for me, that's a good thing.
Right.
And I think that's where you're going against. You're celebrating the end user of that content rather than supporting the volunteer, because the volunteer would just want to peddle that 3 or 4 times and get his stats. But I'm with you. I'd rather have fresh content coming out my ears and force a volunteer for whatever reasons they do it to do something new or slightly different. It doesn't have to be always new, does it?
So I gave an example that I joined 3 different user groups one week. Monday, I think it was like Zimbabwe. Wednesday, it was London. And Friday, I think it was Malaysia. They had the same person on the 3, like the same guy was on the 3 different shows. And by the time he had finished his 3rd one, I could have just taken his slide deck and done his demo for him on the Saturday. But that's what it is. It's oversaturation. I mean, I personally only use the same session 3 times. First time, like a comedian, first time, get it out and iron out the kinks. Second time, it's going to be really good. Third time, it's excellent, it's done, and it's back in the bin at that point. Just on numbers, though, Alison, 55,982 minutes of content have been consumed on our YouTube channel since we put the videos up.
Awesome.
That's a lot of content.
That is a lot. See, what I like about it is the amount of times I go to the in-person events and there's a session I want to see in one room and something I want to see in the other room, and they're not being recorded. So I have to miss one to see the other, right? It's like picking your favorite child. I don't have children.
And it's never me.
Use that analogy. It has
Because that might lead into the next announcement then.
But
well, actually, before we go on that,
like Matt says, he said whoever nails a hybrid approach will become a leader, and he's absolutely right.
So Matt, get the F out my head, and I really did almost swear that wasn't even me like baiting you. Like, honest to God, get out my effing head. But Alison,
you can say the F word.
This year's Scottish Summit. Oh yeah, look at that evil grin, right? Don't be tempting me, you evil mistress.
If Alison, if they don't swear, you've got to put £100 in, haven't you?
I've got what?
If they don't swear, you've got to put £100 in.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, help me to make them swear.
That somewhere or another. Right, but anyway,
so why go this one?
It's the first time I've seen a session on any of the events that we've organised because I've been able to watch it on demand on YouTube because I constantly miss them because we're running about like blue arse flies.
Jordan also, hi Jordan, by the way. Jordan also said that his opinion is virtual meeting fatigue is lack of relevance. If you're in person, you can escape the bits that you're not relevant to, but if you're in like a UG and you have to sit through one session to get to the next, then you're kind of a prisoner. And he's right. Well, not prisoner, that's a bit much, but
so can we allow?
Don't interrupt Mark now because he's got something to say.
So you
I
obviously
do.
say,
Shut the.
Oh, don't let me interrupt him, right? Again, just let me keep interrupting because he does it to me all the time.
Never. So basically, one of the other things that we wanted to say today is Scottish Summit 2020 will be a hybrid event.
2020.
2022 will be hybrid. There will be 4 rooms that will be streamed outside of the UK. It will be geo-locked outside of the UK, but there will be 4 rooms on both days that will be streaming live.
Nice. Very
So
good.
we
And
did
you're
two
recording those
rooms.
sessions.
And when we done the in-person event, we did do 2 rooms that were constantly streamed on the website. Probably not very well promoted from our perspective at the time because we were guinea pigs in it. Didn't quite realise that actually virtual was going to be the way forward with it, but we know what we're going to do. We know the quick kit we need. We know who we can go to for it. So we're definitely in a better place for it.
So I'll be interested to see how that pans out. And like, what would you say are the pros and cons of being virtual? You know, what were the good points and what were the not so good?
Good points are, as Mark's already said, the fact that you can pre-record it if you wanted to, or you can be live, and you can be global quite easily because you spin up an event. The physical presence, even though it's called Scottish Summit, doesn't really matter. Time zone does, as I learned. But see, I'm still kicking myself about it, right? And it's such
let's just get over it, you know. Just,
I know, I need to build a bridge.
Do better.
Alison, I need to build a bridge and get over it, or not finish it and hang myself off the end, right?
Oh, don't do that.
No. But that's the kind of pro of it. The con is the fact you think it's going to be so much easier. You think virtual is Aaron and a few folk have said here, like, you think, oh, it's virtual, it's going to be easy, you just need a platform. Oh my word. There's so much to a virtual event than there is an in-person event. Like, I don't even know where to begin in that list.
What did you do?
I would never do a virtual one again. Fully virtual, never again.
Like, it's nice to have it as an option for an in-person, I think. But what did you do for swag for the virtual event? Because you love a bit of swag.
What's that t-shirt? So we did some swag for the volunteers and some of the speakers, etc. We gave obviously the option for people not to have swag if they were signed up, because some people just don't like it, they don't want it. For the people that didn't want any swag, what we were paying for the swag, we donated to charity.
Right.
So we were paying that forward itself as well. So we had some stuff from the sponsors, gave us some stuff to kind of give out as swag / prizes. We have stress balls. What else did we do? T-shirts, hoodies.
Did you send Matt a stress ball? He needed it yesterday.
I think Matt received pretty much everything. I mean, I don't think this year our merch budget, I think first year was probably about 10 grand. This time round, we probably maxed out at about 4. But for us, having people wearing stuff, I mean, Vesa, I don't know how many people know Vesa, he's one of the team's MVPs, he's awesome. Every session that I see him doing, he is wearing a Scottish Summit polo shirt. And by handing out all of the merch out to people and seeing them wearing it, that's what gets us additional brand awareness.
Oh, Cheryl says she wears her socks every day. There was no socks this year, was there?
There was one pair, Alison. I found one pair of original Scottish Summit socks.
Yeah, you sent that picture. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Like, why did we not have socks this year?
And they went to auction, and they went to auction for charity, and I think it actually cost me personally more to post them to the destination than they get given to charity, right? I didn't think about the fact that posting some socks and a t-shirt and random Scottish Summit 2020 swag that I still had, I didn't realise it was going to cost me so much to post it to America. I was like, yeah, it's fine, I'll pick that up. Oh my word.
Yeah, 45 quid. It's cheaper to FedEx it. Like.
Oh, Sheldon Guinea balls.
No, Malin says the balls.
That's not naughty.
Malin said the balls are very good for stress relief. So, good input there. Good input.
No, but I think
swag like for. Have you got a swag budget, Aaron?
We do, but the problem is swag's really expensive. So if you've got 1,400 attendees and swag is, to get anything decent is £10 a head, it's a big whack out of the budget.
So swag isn't for the attendees. Swag is for the influencers. Think of Instagram. I mean, I hate to use the analogy, but think of Instagram influencers. You have to send the right swag to the right people. I mean, look at Chris. As pretty as he is, he annoys everybody because he's so loud. But because he's so loud, he gets attention on himself. Because he gets attention, everyone sees the logo. That's what you do. It's putting the right merch out to the right people. I mean, like literally, you see these little Proximo 3 keyring things, right? I think I bought 1,000 of them for £100. That's in terms of swag. If you've got that, you've got a couple of stickers. You've got.
It's not even that, Mark. Mark called it right. See the sponsors.
Yeah.
Yep.
They bring the swag.
Yeah, I think a lot of our sponsors are sort of suggested bringing swag. The problem we've got is at the moment, under the current guidelines, lanyard, passes, swag is not allowed. You're not allowed to give anything out at a conference at the moment. So unless that changes,
That's an interesting rule, because technically conferences aren't happening right now, but they've got a rule that if they do happen, you can't give out stuff.
Well, like when we were under a tier 2, so back in late November, December, before it must have been November, we were in tier 2. Tier 2 events would allow conferences of 50% capacity or 2,000 in max, and it was no lanyards. All the tea, coffee, food had to be served. You couldn't serve yourself. So at the time, we arranged, agreed that we'd do sort of like lunch bags. People just pick up a bag, but giving stuff out on the day wasn't allowed. It might change by October, but
I'm hoping it changes.
So,
yeah,
so most
of the sponsors have said they're going to bring swag. So
one hand, that's your answer there, isn't it? You don't have swag because you're not allowed it. But you can't then, if they turn around 2 days beforehand and say you're allowed swag, what do you do? Do you still go with the no swag, or do you have something?
Yeah, we've got a budget. It'll cover volunteers.
Yeah, I think
it's not going to cover everyone attending.
Speakers that you need to.
It's the influencers. It's the people. So once you finish your call for speakers and you know who your top speakers are, get them stuff. I'm speaking at this event. Look, here's my T-shirt. Because if they've got a decent following on Twitter, boom, there's 10,000 people have just seen your logo on something.
Like, for instance, the socks that we were talking about. When we first announced speakers, we sent socks to the speakers, and that drove that, oh my God, where can I get these socks thing? So they became very exclusive. We didn't do a lot of them because they were expensive, but people do have them. And obviously we used that at the very first element of our promotion of pushing out, and it's getting people talking about it, getting a buzz, getting the fact that they're there, putting them out as competitions. Not everybody can get everything. That's the thing. Not that you make it exclusive. There's just that part where it's exclusive, and that's where you gamify a lot of it.
So my strategy is, if I start seeing if they have swag on in-person events, I'm going to walk around coughing, and then I'm going to lick things so that people will let me have it.
You're just going to get it, Alison.
So Alison, like a regular Tuesday, right?
Yeah, we've had this one, Alison. You done this at the last event, and we told you weren't welcome back.
But I didn't listen.
Yeah, the thing is, me and Iain know that we could order 100 pair of socks tomorrow and have Twitter buzzing by the end of the week. We know our marketplace and what people like, and Ian's like, no, he's going to order socks now.
I think Aaron needs to come up with the next big thing and something that we all want.
I think the data rate red screen cleaner thing of questionable shape. Yeah, that I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, that. The
thing that you pull apart and it's got a wee tail.
Do you know what? I'll actually show you one of the best bits of swag. I mean, I actually have a drawer I've got a drawer here of excess swag. I have a metal frame outside my window with stuff. But one of the best bits of swag ever has been this, and I'll hide the company because they're now on the dark side. But this is a screen cleaner. It's got the liquid in it. You basically hit the button and clean the screen. It is amazing. And yet, Red Spire's not a swear word.
No, they're
Red Spire, I've got a lot of time. Red Spire are really good.
Red Spire.
They have sponsored our event 3 times in a row, so
laughing at my head off here. Swag stripe, getting questionable swag.
Yeah, I remember Matt
Talk to
saying
me
that
later.
at said event. I think it was European Summit actually. Yeah, and I remember you said, yeah, we just like making things that are dodgy, then people want them. There.
Yeah, it's finding the right swag that people can keep and use, rather than just throw away as soon as you leave the conference, because you spend a fortune on it and it just goes in the bin. I'm like, I'd rather just give everyone another free drink or something rather than.
There's a balance. There's definitely a
Free
balance.
drinks!
Aaron. Like we've
Chris
got,
doesn't
we've got a
like
lot of swag, but there's lots of swag that we reject because we're just like, what are you going to do with it? What actually is it?
Googly.
I'm on a
Put googly
campaign
eyes on
to
it.
prepare.
Yes.
Googly.
Alison, could you tell us the story of why you would want to put googly eyes on swag?
No.
Are you sure?
The other one is pasties, branded pasties for nipples. That would work.
Are you going to show your nipples? Is that your way of telling us
Okay.
you're doing it topless?
No, I'm not doing any burlesque or anything like that, but that's a good shout. Iain,
Nipple tussles.
some pink
The
and
only way you can make Mark smile is talking about burlesque and getting his nipples out. Is that what we're saying?
it's all good. But yeah, just on that,
The reason why he doesn't drink, Carol.
Doesn't need to.
I do. I mean, we're on the Iron Brew again today. We've actually reached out to again to try and see if they'll sponsor the event, headline sponsor.
Really?
I'm determined to get them as a headline sponsor.
Nice.
I don't care if they give us like a $5 and we get to just use their colours and flip the logo a little bit. I will have like an Iron Brew stand at one of these events.
Nearly.
Yeah.
Really. So, pros and cons of in-person events. I think probably there's the same question, but like, what would you change about in-person events? For me, it's always the refreshments are a bit of an issue, but what would you change?
Are they? Why? Last big event you were at, Alison, was
No, they weren't.
was the
That was
event
perfect.
catered to you?
That was perfect refreshment-wise. Perfect. But all the others I've got, like the one that got me the most is I went to an all-day, I think it was the D365 Saturday that Summit did at Paddington, at Microsoft Paddington. And they had a gender-neutral toilet in the office, obviously, but they can't extend to a bit of soy milk or something. Like, I literally had a banana and a bag of ready salted crisps to eat all day. So that was quite challenging. So, but what would you guys change about in-person events?
Did you put bobbly eyes on the banana, Alison?
Yeah.
It's the eye conversation one to take offline, is it? I'm intrigued now.
You'd know that's coming up in the company chiller tomorrow, that one.
Is it? Nice. I look forward to that.
What would I change about an in-person event? I don't know. For me, I don't actually know what really happens on the day on an in-person event. That's the truth. You almost float through it. You don't really know what's going on because you're reacting to the next thing that needs reacted to. So, I mean, the whole place, every session could have run perfectly, and you wouldn't know. That's the problem. I don't know what I would do differently.
What's the biggest bit of advice you've got for Aaron and Mark?
If you've not taken the sponsor's money, don't do it yet. No, I'm joking. The biggest bit of advice is it's not all going to go perfect. It's nothing. You're going to critique absolutely everything that you do. You're going to second guess everything that you do. I was away to say something, but I was away to swear. Don't care about that. If people have turned up, people have had fun, people have learned, that's all that matters. You've got the community together, you've got people learning, you've got people meeting new people, that's all it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think what you do is just make sure you're prepared and all the planning. And, we've got plans for volunteers to help on the day. We've got hopefully what will be a great event team to help manage the tracks. We've got or planned for ample enough venue staff to help with all the AV. and the speakers, and if there are things that do go wrong, I guess it is what it is, and it's not going to be the end of the world. It's a session may get missed, or a session may be delayed because their laptop hasn't got the right adapter or something small.
And it's just being able to adapt to that. Some of the session starts late, it finishes at the same time. So one thing I would change, would be, or not even change, one thing I'd love to add to an event would be a t-shirt gun.
No.
Oh, yes.
A t-shirt gun. I've been
This is
looking
going to
for
cost me a tenner, but Mark,
Yes,
you can
Paddy.
fuck off.
Hey, 10 quid.
We've argued about this for 3 years, and I am not a health and safety carer by many things, but I just can't have a t-shirt gun and have it go.
Wait a minute, what the?
Please get a t-shirt gun.
Please get a t-shirt gun. I can't believe you haven't done it. Ian, stop being sensible. Get a t-shirt.
Yeah, what if we just drop? What if we give like this a number? It's like a prize number, and
Mark,
shoot it out.
Fling this across off your own face, right? Fling this off your own face, and think about that coming and hitting you from a PSI, like a paintball gun. Anyway, I've got a controversial thing that I would change in in-person event, Alison.
Paintball.
Changing the subject, right? I have a controversial thing.
Pyros, yes.
And it's the one thing that it's so expensive. You mentioned it yourself, that you can't please everybody with it all the time because of the different wants and needs and dietary requirements that people have. You need to cater for all of that at an in-person event. And when you're doing I can totally get that. See, when it's a paid-for event, I can totally understand it. But when it's a free community-based event, that food takes a massive, massive percentage of your budget that you need to cover, that you need to find somehow. And you never have enough. There's always going to be moans and complaints about it. And it's changing that element of that, because that's the part that we, other than the venue itself, we probably spend most money on the catering.
I think catering was more than the event.
I don't even know what the answer is, because people realistically, especially if they're traveling, they're not going to bring like a packed lunch or something like that.
So that's where we have.
So we do have an idea on this. Like, it's crazy. So most venues, as Aaron will find out, I can go to Costco and I can go and buy myself crates of water for 9 pence, like a bottle. But I can't take that into the venue and give it out. It'd be cheaper for us to do that.
You could put the bottles of water in a t-shirt gun though and fire them out into the crowd.
Oh yeah, because that's better, isn't it? Right?
We've agreed a corkage fee, and actually all the beer in the evening we're bringing, because we can go to Costco and get it for 60 pence a bottle rather than £4.50, £5 a pint. So exactly, actually, right. the sponsored drinks at the end, we're not talking one, we're probably talking 3 or 4 everyone, because we've still got the budget for 1,400 people at £5 a head. Yep. And now we're going to Costco. We're going to get 3 crates of beer, and
exactly. So it's being sensible that if you can get that element with the venue, and that's the big part for me, is the catering. Whether it's the coffee during the day, whether it's the water on tap constantly, whether it's the lunch, whether it's after evening drinks and all that, they're the parts that, for an in-person event, that I would like to change somehow, because which we are going to propose for next Scottish Summit, where we'll give you lunch, but there'll be a donation when you're buying a ticket for the lunch to cover it. Or like not a donation, there'll be a cost for it.
We're looking at £15 a head for
that's pretty much what we were. We were
and coffee.
15, lunch, coffee, and orange juice we're about the same things, like £14, 10 pence a head. So it's actually already on our Eventbrite page. You can get a free ticket if you want lunch on the 2 days. It's £28.
Yeah,
if you're a speaker or a volunteer, then you get your lunch from the event as a thank you. But for people who are just turning up, you're getting a free event over 2 days. We're not giving you lunch.
Well, and the point there's about if you don't know the city very well, that's true, right? I get that, but where our venue is in the city, there's Sainsbury's, there's a Tesco, there's loads of different little shops. There's like Pizza Hut, Tim Hortons. It's right in the centre of Glasgow, so you basically need to go outside and smell your way to some food. There's loads of places there that you can get it, and
yeah, it's fair enough. I don't think most people would have a problem with paying for the food either, to be honest.
Yeah,
I just think
flip side
I
is
think
as
you
well.
might move those people away from the sponsors and the booths and all the rest of it. That they will probably want people around that central table from Glasgow last year. All those sponsors around the central table were looking forward to being for lunchtime because that's their biggest hit, you know. And if you're taking that away from them, there's that discussion to have as well.
And that's the balance. You're right, Carol. That's where you need to try and work out where we are with it. Cheers, Chris. Catch you later.
Oh, bye, Chris.
The other flip side as well is, do you find you get a high dropout because it's a free event? If someone paid £5, £10 as a contribution and they then turn up, or at least they let you know prior to the event that they're not attending, because we're looking at 1,400 attendees, but we'll probably open it up to 1,800 to allow for dropouts.
So
we
dropout
factor in 1,800 people turning up and catering for 1,800.
So your dropout's going to be about 30%.
We seem to be a bit strange with our dropout, though. We don't have a high dropout compared to other events that we've spoke to. And I even base that for like the place where I'm currently contracting. They do a lot of events and they have a dropout that's near 50 or 60%. And I'm like, I don't understand that, because you're targeting a particular market, etc., and it's free events. So again, Aaron, I don't know the true stats behind it. I can only talk about from ours, and we've got a really low dropout, which seems a little abnormal. Now, I don't know if that's because it's a free community event and because everybody loves that community event and we get people together, if that's what's unique there, if that's the USP part of that brings people. And you've got the same thing tapped in there with that. It's the same community, it's the same group of people, as well as that business element from it. So your dropout might be the exact same. You might not have a massive dropout.
I mean, the one thing that we did with that as well, we were constantly sending out updates. Here's what's happening. And remember, if you now can't come, cancel your ticket. So we were like on the maybe 2 months leading up, we done that quite often, because that will say, look, if you can't make it, we know things change. Just switch it out.
I think if you do it from a perspective of like, we've got a waiting list, so if you can't make it, somebody else really wants that ticket, then people don't feel bad about it, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I do totally take on that point as well, Carl, about that is the busy place for the sponsors. So there maybe has to be something that we think about around that.
Yeah, that's still something like the stress ball we're chucking about at the moment. Just try to work out the best way for it. Can we broker better deals? Do we do like the corkage thing where we can bring something in? Is there a way we can alleviate that and obviously still make sure the footfall's there for everybody? Because not only is it for the speakers, that's the part where you get the community chatting as well, right?
Yeah. We've like got the opposite, you know, the expo hall, making sure there's enough people in it that the sponsors are always. So hence why we've got the theatres in there. We'll probably have some, you know, big profile names on there to keep people engaged and in there, rather than every 40 minutes disappearing and going off into the breakout rooms and you've got an empty expo hall for 40 minutes.
I mean, I just brought up our quote there. So for the 2-day event, we've been quoted £31,000 plus VAT for food for the 2 days. And that's just food. That actually costs more than the venue costs to hire for the 2 days.
Yeah, we've got the same. Yeah, the venue's a third of what the food bill is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think people appreciate that, right? This is everybody that's been here for the last hour. I totally appreciate you all being here, but it's obviously been a very different virtual power happy hour for you guys all in that virtual way where we're talking about running an event, and it'll be interesting for some and not for others. But I think the biggest part for everything that happens behind the iron curtain or the curtain, whatever you want to call it, of running the event that you don't need to see, the bit that people don't appreciate for me is the food costs. You get these little bitty finger sandwiches that don't look a lot, but the cost to doing that is astronomical.
And no one's ever happy. You don't please anybody, do you?
You will never please. You will only ever please a small percentage of people. So just aim to please me, and then I'll tell everyone it was great. That's probably the best way of doing it. We're gonna have to wrap it up, guys. Jordan did have a good point of getting people to pay a tiny fee or guilt them into being honest about their attendance. As in, if they have a reminder a couple of days before, if they don't interact, then maybe they're not attending.
Just can we 2 seconds on that one? Are we allowed to? So we kind of pulled out last year to a lot of people in the community about charging just £5 for a ticket. And that would help to cover, not cover the costs, but as you say, guilt people in, I've spent the £5, I'm going to turn up.
Yeah.
Or if they don't turn up, boom, there's a £5, we can stick it to charity. A lot of people, and these are
a £5 holding fee almost. If you turn up and check in, we'll give you your £5 back. If you don't, we're putting it to charity. Was one of the propositions we had, and it was a lead balloon, wasn't it?
Yeah, like
and that was with other MVPs as well. We sounded out a lot of people, and the feedback even from MVPs was, I wouldn't pay £5 or like 100 knot, whatever it would be, to actually just attend an event. It was like, all right, okay, but it does maybe
£5.
It does maybe lead to people. But the other part as well you have to think about, Alison, is we want to be as inclusive as we can.
Yeah, I get that.
That's the part where if we're charging and somebody genuinely wants to come, but they're put off then by the £5 fee, it's like, well, I mean, we wouldn't ever hold anyone on that. I'd pay somebody's £5 if they wanted to attend the event and couldn't afford it.
So would I. Like if somebody.
But people
the flip side is they'll turn up, they'll book a hotel that'll be £50-60, and they'll probably have 10 pints at £5, so they're going to spend £150 anyway. So £5 on
not being cynical about anything, I don't know.
And here's another point: like now, with the South Coast Summit, most people's hotel reservations they'll probably be able to cancel them at the last minute. But you haven't always been able to do that. I know that we couldn't cancel our ones so like by the time you've paid £150 or whatever for a hotel for 2 nights or 3 nights. You're going to go, aren't you? Because otherwise you lose the money. And we've booked a train ticket for £100 and all of that kind of thing. Honestly, I'm not bitter. No, I'm not bitter. The company paid for it. I don't care. Like, it's fine. So it's fine for me. But I just, I would spend a £5. Totally, I would spend a £5. I would pay £15 for food, 100%.
You all heard that? Alison's going to sub you all a £5 to pay for your food the next time, right?
Alison's company is going to sub you all a £5 with a voucher from this happy hour event. Yeah. Thanks for turning up 7 minutes after we finished, Bibbs. It's nice to have you here.
No worries.
And we have finished. And well done, Mark. Well done indeed. So let me know which charity you want to donate £100 to, and we will do that for you.
We will.
No problem at all.
We'll overlook the fact that Iain
well done.
said that.
Yeah. Iain said that, not me. Am I allowed to swear now? Have you stopped recording, or are we still going?
No, we're still recording. So it just,
yes, no, we've stopped. You can swear all you like.
It just remains for me to say a massive thank you to our guests, Aaron, Iain, and Mark, and perhaps everybody would like to give them a round of applause, either by unmuting or using the little doodle. This is where you can reach all of these lovely people. Look how well groomed you look in that picture, Iain. Look at that. There must be a stone lighter in that picture with so much less beard.
That's ridiculous, right? I booked in.
I started growing mine, but I thought it was the thing.
It is. It's a prerequisite.
Organizer.
Correct. You do. Yeah. So you're booked in for when, Iain?
It's still like 4 weeks. I think the first appointment it was like the 19th of April.
Nice. So
I'll rent your child.
Here is.
I'll give you a tenner.
Here's the content. Thank you. It's not real money though. It's Scottish money. Stuff that's
legal tender.
It's legal tender, I'm telling you. So I think it's the last day of Dynamics Con today. It's tomorrow, is it? Right? Last day of Dynamics Con tomorrow. The Microsoft Include has been on today and tomorrow. It's also on tomorrow. There is Dynamics Meetup in Berlin tomorrow. The BIUG is on the 19th, which is Friday. Is that right? Power Platform Ireland Meetup is on the 25th of March. 27th of March is the Power Platform School Hackathon. The virtual Power Group Flow Surgery, those have been amazing. If you haven't attended them, I would strongly recommend that you do. Next one is on the 6th of April, as is the South Coast Cloud User Group, which is also awesome, obviously, because it's Aaron, so you have to attend that at the same time. You can watch the recording, it's fine, we've covered that. Then we've got the next virtual happy hour on the 7th of April. And we've got, who have we got on that one? Is Andrew and Manuela doing Centre of Excellence stuff?
We've got Andrew. I'm not sure about Manuela, but
Oh,
now we've said it. Now we've said it. It needs to happen.
Yeah, or someone that looks a lot like someone wearing a Manuela skin suit, if we can't get Manuela on, which is horrifying in the extreme. And the 21st of April, the Norwegian Microsoft 365 meetup. So all that remains is for me to thank you very much for joining us. We hope you found it interesting and did not suffer from virtual event fatigue during this last hour and 10 minutes. And if you want to hang around and bounce for a bit, we're going to stop the recording now, and then Mark can let all of his swears out.